Hi there, welcome to this video. We are going to take images and crop them inside of boxes, inside circles. We're going to do it in type multiple shapes, okay, and inside text, and the text is editable. Awesome. Let's go and learn how to do that now in Adobe Illustrator. So first up, if you're following along with the tutorial series, make sure that you're on your background layer, it's unlocked, and let's just turn the eyeball on the type layer off so we're just working on this one layer. Now, you know you're working on this layer because it's blue. Okay, next thing I want to do, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and bring in an image. I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Place, and we're going to start with this one called Desk. I'm going to click Place. This is a very big image, so if I click once, it ends up being this ginormous version. So what we're going to do is we're going to click and drag it out. Okay, so I'm going to bring it in, and I'm going to drag it kind of, it's a bit hard because it's a rectangle, so drag diagonally out, and just make sure it's bigger than what we, this square that we're going to crop it into. Now with the black arrow, just kind of move it so you roughly get it to the position you want. It's hard to see, I know. And what we need to do is that the gray box needs to be on top. Okay, the shape that you're going to use is the clipping mask. Okay, it needs to be on top of the image. So I'm going to click on this guy, go to properties, let's go to arrange, and we're going to set him to the back. Now I'm going to get him into a kind of a rough position that I kind of want to clip. We can adjust that afterwards. Now I need to select both of these. So I'm going to click my rectangle tool first, or sorry, the gray rectangle, hold shift, grab my image. So they're both selected. Now over here, we've got one that says make clipping mask. Awesome, huh? Okay, so it doesn't really matter what the shape is. Let's do a circle. So an ellipse. Okay, I'm gonna draw a circle. I'm gonna bring in an image. Doesn't really matter if it has a fill or a stroke. Okay, I'm just gonna give it one so you can see it. Let's go to File, Place. There's one called Drawing 2 that we used earlier on. We'll use him again. Again, I'm going to drag it so it's kind of big enough to go in the circle, get it into a rough sort of position for me. This one needs to be at the back, arrange, send to back, select them both, make clipping mask. So it doesn't really matter, you can draw with stars, pentagons, okay, whatever you want to draw with. You can draw something custom with the pen tool or the curvature tool. Now there'll be a time where you want to readjust this image. So remember the black arrow kind of physically moves stuff around, the white arrow gets in there, right? So if I click on there, click off, click back in there. It's clicking on the image, you can kind of see it's kind of sprung to life. And I can move this around. To adjust the size, I actually need to switch back to my black arrow. And it kind of remembers that I've got the image selected. Holding shift, let's say I want to get it perfect in there. Okay, I can still adjust it. So that's how to get in there and adjust them. Let's click off. There'll be times where you need to actually just pull them apart, like come out of there. It happens if you're opening up somebody else's image and it's clipped and you're like, how do I get it out? Okay, with it selected, there's one over here, it says release mask. Click on that and they just kind of come apart. Now the circle that we had here, remember I can't remember what color we had, it was blue I think, but it's disappeared. It's still there, okay, but it has no fill anymore. That's just something to be noticed. Okay, I'm gonna undo, put it back where it was. Let's look at another way of masking, okay, and it is using multiple shapes. Okay, and there's a little trick you need to do. So I'm gonna draw an ellipse, it doesn't matter what color. Okay, I'm just gonna show you. And I'm going to duplicate this one. A cool way of duplicating, you can copy and paste, okay, but I like to hold down the black arrow and then hold down the Option key on a Mac. You can see the cursor changes a little bit, and it's Alt on a PC. So while you're dragging, okay, I'm holding down the Option key and you get multiple options. I'm going to have 4 of these little guys, and then I'm going to group them so I can make another set. I don't know what I'm doing really, just I guess for instance. Okay, so I'm going to use this and I'm going to bring in an image. So File, Place, and one called Color Bomb, and I'm going to click Place, and I'm going to drag it so it's kind of covering this whole thing. Okay, now remember it needs to be at the back, arrange, send to back, and then I select them all, and I go make clipping mask, and it doesn't work. Okay, so the trick you need to do first is you need to select everything except the image. So I selected them all, held shift to deselect this back one. Any which way you've got to select all of these guys, and you need to convert it into what's called a compound path. Now we'll cover compound paths properly in the next one, but for you in this case, all we need to do is go Object and go to compound path and just go to make. Nothing changes with it, except now when I have them both selected and I go to make clipping mask, hey, they work. Okay, so make it a compound path. That can be any shapes. Like I've just used circles. They can be like a bunch of random shapes or outline text, anything like that. Next thing we want to do is within text. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my layers back on and grab my type layer. I want this thing, okay, that I drew earlier. I'm going to just move it up here. I'm on my type layer now. Okay, I'm going to bring in another image. Okay, I'm using my shortcut now. Okay, I'm getting tired of file place. You can see Command. In my case, it's Command Shift P because I'm on a Mac. It'll be Control Shift P on a PC. It's one of the common shortcuts. I'm going to bring in Color Bomb again. Okay, and what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to drag it quite big out here. I've got a plan. Okay, from multiple lines. Anyway, so text is pretty easy, right? All I need to do is make sure he's behind. So Properties, Arrange, Send to Back. So there's my text layer. You can't really see him. Doesn't really matter what color he is. I'm just showing you so you can see him. So select them both and then go to Make Clipping Mask. Awesome, huh? Well, you can kind of see it. See the edge there? Okay, the reason I did that is because I want to do this. Because it's editable type, I can double click on it. Okay, and I can go into here and go boom. Anybody else remember that song? I had this on cassette. Single, I think it was called. Loved it. Anyway, so the cool thing about it is I double clicked on it. The weird thing is I ended up going inside the shape. Okay, and we looked at this way at the beginning. It's called isolation mode. I've kind of go inside this kind of clipping mask. To get back, I click on this arrow loads of times until it disappears. You can see the image, you know, editable text, the image is there. You can go in and change, say you want to move the image because it's a bit dark up here. Same thing again, double click it to go inside. And then if you kind of move around, you can see I'm selecting the text and over here is the image. Okay, so I've double clicked to go inside. I'm inside this clipping group and now I can move this image around. It's a bit fiddly, I'm not gonna lie to you. So have a little play around with it so you can get it to work. But when you're finished, definitely smash away at this arrow until you're back out. And that is clipping masks with text. We did it with multiple shapes, remember compound path, and just any old shape you like by just using the little option down here. All right, that is masks. I've said that twice. Let's get on to the next video. Hi there, in this video we're going to cut holes in things. They're called compound paths. I'm going to zoom in. You can see I can see through this owl to the page underneath. And I'm also going to do this. Everyone loves a bit of abstract compound path making. We're going to do that in this tutorial. Okay, so first up, open up the file compound path from your exercise files. And what I want to do is I'm going to bring in an image. Okay, and I'm going to bring in an image called old paper. There you are. I'm going to drag it out so it kind of covers the background. It's a little bit big, but it's okay. All right, so I want this. Now I'm going to arrange it, send it to the back, because what I'd like to do is, at the moment there's, let's say these two eyes, these outer eyes here with the green, because I want them to be holes, because right, if they're white, okay, which is what we've done in the past, obviously we can't see through to the background. So what we want to do is we want to punch holes in it. So I'm going to select the two eyes, okay, and just drag them off, because I want these two selected. So I'm holding shift to click both of them. Then I also might as well do it in one big go. I want to cut that out as well, the nose, and all from this guy in the background. It comes down to layer order. Whoever's at the back gets everything cut out of them. Okay, so make sure that the owl's body is at the back, which it is for us. Go up to Object, come down to Compound Path, and go to Make. And it slices it all out, and we can see through. Let's get the eyes. We'll move them back in, and we're going to select everything, deselect the background. I'm going to fill it with white just to match what we had there at the beginning. Okay, so that's how to make a compound path. I want to add a drop shadow to it just because I might as well show you that while we're here. Let's go to Effect and let's go to Stylize. And you'll notice when you add things like drop shadows, watch this. I'm going to turn on Preview to show you the defaults. You see it's a little bit weird. You're like, it's all kind of layered and stuff. So what you need to do first is have it all selected and then group it. So Object, Group, and then if I go to Effects and go to Stylize, I can go to Drop Shadow. And because they're all one group, they'll kind of act how you imagine they would act. Okay, and I'm just going to drop this down to something not totally massive. Still pretty big, Dan. Let's go one down here. All right, that's what I want. Let's click OK. So that's my first compound path. Next thing I'd like to do is I'm going to open up a new document, and we're going to do that one we saw at the beginning with all the squiggles. Same sort of principle. So I'm going to open up a document. I'm going to make sure it's RGB. Okay, so 12 down advanced. Why? Because it's just a better color scape. Look at the earlier video for RGB about why. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I am going to grab my pencil tool. pencil tool. He's underneath my shaper tool. Grab the pencil tool. If you double click it, make sure the smoothing is right up and the keep selected is unticked. It's just going to help us with our lines look smoother. And I'm going to draw a few different squiggles. So what I'll do is I'm going to draw one initial one kind of around the outside. I'm just kind of doing blobby, moving around. Watch when I let go. Come back to the beginning, because you see right back to the beginning, and it kind of makes it one shape, which is cool. I'm making another one. How many of these do I want? I think I want 5. I can never remember. Doesn't really matter. This one's going to have a extra blob in there. All right, and maybe one more. It's going to go underneath there. Oh, yep, I like what I'm doing here. Exciting myself. So I've got all my shapes here now. Okay, so what I'm going to do to make this easier for everybody to understand, it's easier probably just to go, you're the beginning shape, you're the next shape. I'm just keeping a nice bit of space between them all to make it easy while we're working. Okay, so I've got all these shapes. I would like some rectangles. Okay, so I'm going to draw a rectangle that covers the page. Doesn't really matter how big these are really. And I'm going to grab it. Okay, and I'm going to stick this, what have I got? I've got no fill. I'm going to pick a color. Okay, and I'm going to grab it and select it underneath. Cool. And these need to be at the back, right? Okay, so we need to go arrange, send to back, and I'm going to have 1, 2. I'm holding Alt while I'm dragging. That's how I'm getting the copy. We did it earlier on, but you can just hold down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC. There you go. There's all my shapes. Now I'm going to pick some colors because I want to. Let's go to Window. We use color themes. Okay, and we used this earlier on in a tutorial. I'm using the Explore, and I'm going to pick some colors from here. All right, so I will pick this color here. I'm going to start with this one. It's going to be my base color. Actually, we need one other color. That's what we need. Okay, we need 5 segments. So this bottom one's going to be this color, green. Click on this one. You're going to be this yellowy color. You peach. Let's say running out of color names. All right, so now we need to make them compound paths, just like we did before. Okay, so we're going to start with this bottom one here. Okay, select both things and then go to Object, Compound Path, Make. Select Object, Compound Path, Make. You see the shortcut there? It's Command 8 on a Mac or Control 8 on a PC. I use that all the time. Okay, I got them all. Next thing I want to do is just select them all and give them no stroke. Goodbye stroke. Now I'm going to stack them up. You're at the bottom. You're next. There's going to be some layer order issues. Ooh, not. I happen to do them in the right order. Nope. Okay, so that guy's behind that guy. So I just need to make sure with them selected, arrange, bring to front. Now I'm going to have my layer orders. Awesome. Arrange, bring to front. Just so you know, it's not really it's kind of an intro class for shortcuts, but Command Shift and the outer square rectangle. It's up near your P key. Okay, it's Command Shift and outer, or the second square bracket. It's Control Shift if you're on a PC. So I've got all my colors. Okay, they're all lined up, and what you saw at the beginning though, there's like a nice little effect applied to them. So kind of like, well, it is the drop shadow, makes this look a little nicer. So I am going to select it all. I'm going to close down my color themes, and I'm going to go to Effect. I'm going to go to Drop Shadow, under Stylize, Drop Shadow, and we're going to play around with this. Make sure Preview's on, and I guess this will come down to the size of your page, what kind of squiggles you did. So by default, yeah, it's a bit small, that one, 1, 1, 1. I'm going to go to, I'm going to pretend like I'm just fluking this, but I practiced this before the video to try and make it look awesome. 7, 7, and this one here looked good at 20. Okay, the offset is just like left and right, so it's kind of like the sun shining up there. The blur is, you watch it'll change from this kind of really hard edge to a really kind of soft edge. Does it look great? Looks okay. Let's click OK on this. Now, one thing before we move on is that you might find your machine is running super slow. Okay, the reason for that is because what's called the raster setting. So if you're finding like it's just impossible to work, you can go up to here, go to Effects, Document Raster Settings, and change it from 300 ppi to this 72 ppi. The only problem with that is it's gonna change the resolution for when you output this. So when you go to print, it's not gonna look as good. But while you're working, it actually just speeds things up. So now I'm working and I go and resize stuff, it's super quick. Whereas back at 300, even just clicking the OK button takes forever. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. So now when I drag it out, it goes recalculating, and then like I got a pretty fast Mac and it's still pretty slow. So what you need to do is you can change it to 72, and just before you go to print, or when you're finished doing your adjustments, go back to 300, it'll look nicer. Okay. So I've got this. I've done better ones, but let's say that I like this. It looks good as a kind of abstract kind of slice rather than the whole thing. So what I might do is I'm gonna grab the rectangle tool and grab like a chunk of maybe this. Yeah, maybe just that bit. I don't know. Yeah, maybe that bit. So I've drawn a rectangle on the top. I'm selecting everything, and then I'm gonna go to, can't do it over here with the quick actions because I've got too many things selected, but it still works. It's under Object, Clipping Mask, Make, or Command 7. And now it looks kind of cooler, right? Kind of sliced down into a little piece. Okay, so one last thing we'll do with Compound Pass before we leave is let's open a file in our exercise file. It's called smartphone.ai. Here it is here. Now this has been downloaded from Adobe Market. It's free to use. I'll show you Adobe Market in a video coming up. But basically, it's cool. It's got a hole cut in it. But say I want to kind of pull it apart, and I go to Object and I go to Ungroup, and that works. So the button is kind of not part of it now. But then I go to Object and I go to I can't ungroup it anymore, but it's still stuck together. Okay, it's because it's a compound path. There's a hole cut in the middle of it. Actually, there's lots of holes. Okay, all of these guys here, you can kind of see through the page there. They're all compound paths. So we need to pull it to pieces. And now that we know what a compound path is, no problem. Object, compound path. Instead of make, we're going to release it. I'm going to click off in the background. Now it's all its kind of constituent parts, and you can go and adjust it, change colors. You might want to go back, adjust the edges of this and then make it a compound path again. It's up to you, but now you know. There are lots of instances of this where you get given an image, you've downloaded it from the net or a stock library site, and it's just really hard to work with. The magic potion is to go to Object and go to Release Compound Path. All right, my friends, you are now a master of compound paths. Go forth, cut holes in things, and I will see you in the very next video.